Hello, 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 everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is Viper Strike 95, and today we're here with another installment of our streaming day for our Gameday flights. Today we're here in beautiful Mexico, in Guadalajara here today, and we're going to be doing a very important flight here. We have the round 16, which will be scheduled for, of course, Monday. Technically it would actually be for the round 16 knockout in Mexico City on July 5th. On Sunday it would be Mexico versus England at the Azteca, which is going to be a very tough environment for England to go against, of course. The story of this World Cup has been absolutely insane so far. In terms of the knockout phases, this round 32 has been absolutely insane. We'll talk more about it as we get in the air, but it has been absolutely pure cinema. For pretty much all of these games have been pure cinema so far. So before we get started, I do want to say hello to all you guys. I hope you're all having a really good all of you guys have had a really good weekend so far. I hope you all had a good week and enjoyed your time during the week. So hello to all the lurkers and mods. Good to see you. So basically, our flight plan is this. Here's our flight plan for today. And basically, it's very similar to the flight plan we did for the Club America CD Guadalajara stream we did back last year. Around that time, around last year, of course, we did that stream. I believe earlier this year in February. It's basically taking us to the Estadio Akron. This was one of the host sites for this year's World Cup here in Mexico. Then from there, we'll fly to the Estadio Jalisco in Guadalajara. Then we'll make a beeline over to Mike. That is in Morelia, just outside the city of Morelia, Mexico. That will be our first stop. Our second stop will take us through into Mexico City. We'll make a pit stop at the Estadio Azteca, the famous home of Club America and, of course, the Mexican national team. And then we'll make our way over to Benito Juarez Airport. And that would be our final stop. So we only got 2 legs for this flight. Should be pretty easy to get through. So we're going to take the beach. So we're going to go ahead and take So there we go. So here we go, guys. That is that. So our cruise altitude for the first leg of the trip, by the way, we'll be at 12,500. Our first leg will fly around 9,500 feet for the first leg. So, the city of Guadalajara, by the way, the city we'll be flying over first is Guadalajara, the capital, most populous city in Jalisco. And it is the 8th most populous city in all of Mexico. Its population is at, its population is 1.8 million 1.38 million people. Its metro area is the 3rd largest in the country at 5.26 million people. This city is actually the second highest population density in the entire country, surpassed only by the capital and largest city of Mexico City. Um, and of course, within the country, it's a center of business, arts, culture, technology, and tourism. And it makes one of the 100 most productive and globally competitive cities on Earth. And the city is home to many numerous landmarks, including the Guadalajara Cathedral, the Diego Gallardo Theater, the Templo Expiatorio, the UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Hospicio Cabanas, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, because it's one of the oldest large orphanage and hospital complexes in the Americas, and the San Juan de Dios Market, the largest indoor market in all of Latin America. Very old city, very rich. A lot of stuff going on here today, of course, so here we go. And we're up. Up, 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 and we go. So we'll be making our way over to the Estadio Akron. The Estadio Akron it was built for the club of the Liga MX side Chivas or Guadalajara, which is one of the biggest teams in all of Mexico, and it seats 49,000 people. It's the only stadium in this year's World Cup to not host any of the knockout games this year. So we'll pay a visit to the Estadio Akron. Of course, we'll pay a visit here. So we'll pay a visit there. So pretty cool stuff. And we talked about Guadalajara back a long time ago, but basically for those who don't know, CD Guadalajara is one of Mexico's biggest football clubs, winning 12 league titles, 4 cup titles, and 7 Campeon of Champions, basically a domestic Super Cup. And they even won 2 CONCACAF Champions League titles. So making them one of the most well-known teams in all of North America. So here it is, guys. The Estadio Akron, right here. here we go, guys. We're going to climb up to 8,000 feet. So this is Guadalajara, the city center. And there is also the Estadio Jalisco, the home of Atlas, the big local rivals of Chivas, of course. They play. So once we reach 9,000 feet, we'll turn into the right side. So we're going to go down this direction for a bit. We now just reached our max altitude of 9,000 feet. So we'll be 9,500 feet will be where we're going to be going for pretty much most of the trip. So, but yeah, look at the view. Look at the views down below. Look at the canyon. Wow, that's really cool. I didn't notice it when I visited there last time. That's gorgeous. That's a beautiful canyon. So we're gonna go ahead and turn 160. So we're going to go ahead and head down this direction for a bit. So I do want to talk a bit about some of the World Cup matches this happened this past week with the knockout for the round of 32. Because I want to talk about that out of all those games. So the round 32 was happened absolutely insane today. So the first knockout game, of course, was the 28th, and that was South Africa and Canada was the first knockout game. And that happened on Sunday with Canada beating South Africa 1-0. And it's Canada's first ever time in the round 16 ever for Canada. Then, of course, then the day after, on Monday, we had three pretty intense matches. We had Brazil and Japan first, which it was Japan led for pretty much most of the game. Casemiro got the equalizer for Brazil in the 56th minute, and of course, Gabriel Martinelli broke the hearts of the Japanese supporters at the NRG Stadium to put Brazil once again into the round 16. The second match for from the round 32 was Germany and Paraguay. This one was a very back and forth match, of course. But in the end, of course, it was Paraguay who won in penalty knockouts. Germany had actually lost in a penalty shoot. Germany had previously never lost a penalty shootout. In 50 years. It was their first ever World Cup shootout lost. Germany actually lost it, and it's because not many of the Germans were even willing to take the penalties. So Germany lost to Paraguay. Paraguay shocked a lot of people. But I had a feeling they could make a deep run into the cup, and I think they could make some noise. So another one I was predicted to be right. Then the last one of Monday was, of course, Netherlands-Morocco. And just like that, we had another shootout, and once again, a big upset as Morocco beats the Netherlands. And the Dutch fall to Morocco. So, big one for Monday. Tuesday, we had 3 more matches on Tuesday. Norway takes care of the Ivory Coast, thanks to Erling Haaland's goal in the second half, secured the Norwegian win over the Ivory Coast. France completely dominated Sweden 3-0. That was not a surprise at all. And Mexico has continued its incredible run so far in the World Cup, beating Ecuador 2-0. Then Tuesday was England and the Dominican Republic of Congo. Unbelievably, the Dominican Republic of Congo scored first, but Harry Kane's brace in the second half got the English to the round 16. Then, of course, Belgium and Senegal was probably the match of this World Cup. One of the crazy comebacks, of course. Senegal was basically an all game. In fact, until the 86th minute, Lukaku scored. Then Tielemans got his first goal in the 89th minute. And then in extra time, Tielemans then got the penalty to put it in extra time to put it 3-2. Senegal choked it at the very end of the game. Just a tough loss for Senegal. And then the United States and Bosnia-Herzegovina, the U.S. took care of business 2-0, and despite being down to 10 men and with Balogun's red card, the United States beat Bosnia-Herzegovina 2-0, which is definitely pretty good. That was definitely a good win, but losing Balogun's going to hurt against Belgium. And then, of course, yesterday's games. Thursday, of course, Spain easily dismantled Austria. Between Porro and Orzabal, Austria didn't really have much of a chance. Portugal-Croatia was absolutely insane, and this might just be one of the biggest heartbreaks in the entire tournament. Croatia led by the 53rd minute, then Ronaldo got his penalty in the 68th minute. Ramos got his goal in stoppage time. But what made this so heartbreaking was that Croatia, it was a VR, it was in the 103rd minute, basically around the final kick. It was a VAR decision. It was a guardable goal that was ruled out by VAR because he was offside. And it led to an absolutely heartbreaking loss for Croatia. It definitely felt the Croatian fans. And Switzerland easily take care of Algeria 2-0. So that, and then we still have 3 more games today for the knockout phases in the round 32. Australia, Egypt, Argentina, Cabo Verde, and Colombia and Ghana. So we still have 3 more matches going on in the round of 32. As for my thoughts, I think Egypt would beat Australia. Sadly for Cabo Verde, this is where their tournament run ends. They had a great run out of the group stages. No one expected them to. But they're getting beaten by Messi and that Argentina squad. And then Colombia and Ghana could go either way, but I have Colombia. I think they can make a deep run into the quarterfinals. So I have Colombia knocking out Ghana. So, should be pretty good. The round 16 should be very interesting, of course. If you want me to know who I think wins the round 16 matches, I think France beats Paraguay. But Paraguay will definitely give them a good fight. I think Canada ends up beating Morocco. Canada makes the quarterfinals. Spain beats Portugal, ending CR7's World Cup journey, as the Spaniards knock them out. The USA-Belgium is a coin flip. On one hand, the United States could definitely score on Belgium, and they've done well. On the other hand, losing Balogun is going to be a huge blow for this team. Losing Florian Balogun is going to be a very big blow, since he is the leading scorer of this team. So, anything can happen. Brazil-Norway is going to be Brazil. Holland's a monster, but one man can't do everything. Brazil's got the better squad. Mexico and England, which is today's match, is going to be today's match for covering. It's going to be a very tough road for England. They had to play at the Azteca, which Mexico has only lost twice in the last 50 years at the Azteca. That's a brutal place to play. Because not only is it tough with the home crowd fans, you also have to deal with the 7,000-foot altitude at Mexico City. So I have Mexico knocking out England. England's World Cup run ends in Mexico. So that's basically for all the matches what I think is going to happen this season. So let's go ahead and start our slideshow coverage today. Let's go ahead and talk about the national team for England, of course, since we're here. So the England national team, by the way, one of the most historic national teams in all of Europe, if not the world, is England. This is the joint oldest national team in international football since its first match back in 1872. England competes in the three major tournaments of the World Cup, UEFA European Championship, and the UEFA Nations League. And they're among the joint oldest national team in football, along with Scotland. England plays its home ground at Wembley Stadium in Western London, and their trains at St. George's Park in Burton-upon-Trent. Their current coach is Thomas Tuchel. Is their current coach. Their nickname, of course, is the Three Lions because you see it on their crest. England is most notable for winning the 1966 FIFA World Cup on home soil, making them one of 8 different nations to have won the World Cup, and they have qualified for the World Cup 17 times, including 4th place finishes in 1990 and 2018, though they've never won the European Championship, as they've been runners-up twice in 2020 and 2024. Now, they are a constituent country of the UK. That means they're not qualified for the Olympic Committee, so they don't complete in the Olympic Games. This makes England the only team to have won the World Cup at the senior level, but not their own continental title, and they're the only team to represent a non-sovereign state to have won the World Cup. So yeah, very historic side. Currently, England's ranked 4th in the world. Their highest was 3rd. And their lowest was 27th. But England after all, is the birthplace of football. So England has had tons of iconic players over the years, and with some of the game's biggest icons in sports have played in England, of course. Their first ever match was a 0-0 draw against Scotland. It located in Patrick in Glasgow, which is the first ever international football match. Biggest win ever in the history of England was a 13-0 win against Ireland. In Belfast. And their biggest defeat was an absolutely humiliating 7-1 loss against Hungary in Budapest. And that happened during a friendly in Budapest. They lost 7-1. And it's still England's most humiliating defeat. So pretty important stuff. The best result in the World Cup was their championship in 1966. So yeah, England's definitely got a rich football history. That's unlike many others. There's been so many different players and managers coaching these teams. In terms of the kids in crest, they have some of the most famous kids in crest of international football. Good old England. Their crest is the lion, and this has been around since King Richard I from 1189 to 1199. It has the 3 lions, Passant Gardant, which has been the symbol of King Richard I. In 1872, the players wore white jerseys embracing the 3 lions crest of the Football Association, and they were often blue with only minor changes. Originally topped the crown, this was removed in 1949. And they introduced 10 Tudor roses along with the crest. one for each of the regional branches of the FA. And since 2003, England topped their logo with a star to recognize their World Cup win in 1966. Now, England's traditional colors are white shirts. Home colors are white shirts, navy blue shorts, and white or black socks. And periodically has worn all white. Now, although England's first away kits were blue, England's traditional away colors have been red. Red's been England's traditional away color for years. Now, it hasn't always been red. At one point in 1996, they changed to gray shirts, but that was only worn 3 times before the deviation, but because the deviation from red was unpopular with supporters. Though occasionally they also had a third kit, including with pale blue shirts, but of course they weren't really used much. But traditionally, England's home was white with blue shorts, while England's road are red shirts, white shorts, and blue and red socks. So, kind of an interesting traditions here, of course. There. So, pretty important stuff when we get to England, obviously. Now, the historic home of England, by the way, of English football for the national team plays at Wembley Stadium, the new Wembley that was opened in 2007. It seats 90,000 people, making it the largest stadium in the United Kingdom and the second largest in Europe behind Barcelona's Camp Nou. And it's home to the English national team and also hosts the FA Cup final, the final of England's primary domestic club competition. In addition to just hosting the English national team and all that, there have been plenty of other events that have been played at Wembley. For example, they played all sorts of other sports. Rugby league has played here too, on several occasions. Rugby league and rugby union. They also hosted American football games, have also been held here in Wembley. After all, they've hosted plenty of NFL matches at Wembley, including the Jaguars have played here, but tons of NFL teams have been played in Wembley. And it's stated to have its very first ever college football game this upcoming season, the Union Jack Classic between Arizona State and Kansas, which would be the first college football match in Britain since 1988. It's hosted boxing events and professional wrestling, and of course, it's a very popular area for concerts too. Wembley's hosted tons of events. Now, of course, prior to this stadium open, England played most of their sites in the original Wembley Stadium that was opened in 1923. And that Wembley hosted the 1948 Summer Olympics, the 66 FIFA World Cup Final, and many other events over the years. But yeah, very big stuff though for the national team. In terms of their rivalries, of course, England has had plenty of rivalries over the years, but their 3 main rivals are Scotland, Germany, and Argentina. Though they do have smaller rivalries with France, Wales, and the Republic of Ireland, but it's mainly these 3. Of course, England's most obvious rival is Scotland. I mean, after all, they're literally bordering next to each other. And more importantly, too, it's also the first ever international football match. Still to this day, England-Scotland is still a very bitter rivalry. And it's thanks to the fact that the history of the British Isles has led to many rivalries between England and Scotland. Social, cultural effects of antagonism and conflict has contributed to the intense nature of these contests. As well as Scottish nationalism has been a very important thing. Even though it's diminished somewhat since the 70s, For England, games against Germany and Argentina are now more important than Scotland, but the Scots will always consider England to be their #1 rival. So, Scotland will be historically one of the most important rivals for England. Now, of course, they have a rivalry with Germany, but it's mainly an English thing, as in the run to any competition match between the two teams, many UK newspapers would print articles detailing results of the previous encounters, including England's win in the 1966 FIFA World Cup final, in the semi-final penalty shootout defeats in 1990 World Cup in the Euro 96. But that rivalry again has been diminished since the 2020s, as Germany considered Italy, the Netherlands, and France to be greater than England. However, nowadays, I'd say their most intense rivalry is Argentina, actually, which is insanely competitive. Games between the two teams, that even though they're friendly, are often marked by notable and controversial incidents, most notably Maradona's Hand of God in 1986. And it is a bit unusual considering that this is an intercontinental rivalry, and typically such football rivalries mainly exist between bordering nations. But Argentina is regarded as one of the major rivals of their country, matched only by Brazil and Uruguay. But there's a lot of grudge match as well. And this rivalry still is intensified in Argentina by non-football events, the Falklands War and stuff. And yet, it's still bitter even though the two teams have not met since a friendly in 2005. Yeah, Argentina and England do not like each other at all. So yeah, pretty bitter stuff, of course, as well. So we then get to the national team honors. So here's are their national team honors, of course. So these are some of the national team honors, of course. So definitely some very important honors. Of course, there's that World Cup win in 1966. They're UEFA runners-up twice in 2020 and 2024. In the UEFA Nations League, third place in 2018. They've won the regional championship 54 times, more than anyone else in their home championship. And they have won the Fair Play Trophy 3 times. So that's kind of their honors. Not a lot of regional success, but because Europe's so competitive, of course. If you know anything about competing in Europe, it's very, very competitive. Now let's look at the national team icons. It is where the world's game was born, after all. So England has had so many legends to pick from, and here's just a list of them. The most notable legend, of course, may be the greatest English player of all time, Bobby Charlton, which we talked about him a bit about him when he was part of Manchester United, obviously. But during his time of the national team, he was a very big contributor to England's World Cup win in 1966. He's only one of 10 players to have ever won a World Cup, European Cup, and a Ballon d'Or. I mean, that pretty much solidifies his legacy as England's greatest talents. Mr. Bobby Charlton, and he's still England's third highest goal scorer, only surpassed by Harry Kane and Wayne Rooney, of course. Incredible talent, and he was a big piece of England's World Cup success in 1966. The next player on the list, of course, I put on the list after of course Bobby Charlton, we have England's all-time leading goal-scoring king, Harry Kane. Yep, Harry Kane himself. Absolutely incredible talent. One of the world's top players, as he scored over 500 goals so far for both club and country. He's an insanely talented player. And he was a big piece of England's return to form in the 2010s and 2020s. helping England get to the Euro finals twice. Unfortunately, he couldn't win their titles against France and Italy. But this year, he's been absolutely incredible in this year's World Cup. Harry Kane has been absolutely ridiculous. He's currently he's scored 13 goals in the World Cup so far. His goal leader, of course. Harry Kane's already tied 6 in total goal scoring, which is incredible. Kane's been absolutely an incredible player. Kane's incredible both player and club and country. Absolutely ridiculous goal scoring machine. Good old Harry Kane. Been incredible. Definitely one of the best modern English players. Then we have Peter Shilton, who's played more caps than any other person for the English national team. And he played over 1,000 English league games, including his time in Nottingham Forest. He was most notable for being one of the greatest to ever represent Nottingham Forest, winning their 2 Champions Leagues, and a European Super Cup, First Division title Football League Cup. And he also had a long history at Leicester City, Southampton, and Derby County. And of course, internationally, and he's been incredible for England as well, especially being part of the 1990 World Cup. In fact, he has a record of 10 clean sheets in World Cup final matches, along with Fabian Barthez. So yeah, he's definitely one of the all-time great goalkeepers. Then, of course, we have David Beckham. You guys all know about Sir David Beckham, of course. One of the great players of all time. And he had a long history with both club and domestically, of course. And of course, he was once also the captain, and he played for a lot of his times during England, especially during the 2002 World Cup and 2006 World Cup, of course. But he's played over 100 games for England for David Beckham. Then we have the second leading all-time goal scorer, Wayne Rooney. Of course, Mr. Wayne Rooney. He actually started at Everton before becoming a Manchester United legend. But internationally speaking, Wayne Rooney has had a long career. He played England through, and he became the youngest player to ever play for England at just age 17. But Rooney played a big role for a lot of the Euros in 2016 and such. We all know he's a talented goal scorer. Then, of course, we have other players. Steven Gerrard, who played 114 matches at the English national team, one of the all-time great talents. Then we have, of course, Jimmy Greaves. Let's not forget good old Jimmy Greaves, who was also a big-time player in England's World Cup win in 1966. He played during the same game as that. He was a big piece in helping them win the World Cup in 1966. Then, of course, we have Frank Lampard, who also played 106 games for the team. And there are many more. But these are just all the people who played for England during the national team. Lots of icons to pick from. So that concludes England, and that concludes the English national team. So I hope you're all doing well. So, of course, I also want, but I do want to actually, I want to show you guys something, too, for the community. If you guys weren't aware of it, if you guys weren't aware, of course, you guys all pretty well aware with the National Park Series. Well, last night, Microsoft have just released the new world update for the U.S. national parks. So they officially came with the list of all the national parks that were affected by the world update. So I actually already categorized the national parks. As you guys knew, I already did these streams before. As I said before on stream, are the ones we've already done before, and we'll be revisiting them in a Redux, which the flights are going to be much shorter links, and basically we'll fly mainly with airports between the national parks. We'll be doing a redo. Now, not all of the national parks we've done before are going to be redone. The other ones are upcoming, and basically we're going to be doing them as normal, so there'll be no changes. So of the national parks that we're going to be done before, and we're going to be revisiting them later, I'm basing them on their order of establishment. So we'll be doing them in the same order of establishment as we done previously. So the ones we're going to be doing, we're going to be revisiting are Sequoia, Crater Lake, Wind Cave, Mesa Verde, Rocky Mountain, Lassen Volcanic, Zion, Bryce Canyon, Grand Teton, Carlsbad Caverns, Olympic National Park, Kings Canyon, Big Bend, Petrified Forest, Canyonlands, North Cascade, and Redwood. So these are the national parks we're going to be revisiting. We're going to revisit these parks and see the differences. Some might have big differences compared to the original national park, and others not so much. So we'll be checking all of them out in greater detail. So everything's going to be much closer to the parks. Now, and then the rest are the upcoming parks that are affected that we have yet to cover. So these are going to be the ones updated, including Arches, which was the first one that's going to be affected by the update. Arches National Park. We'll also be paying a visit to Capitol Reef, Guadalupe Mountains, Badlands. All these are going to be upcoming. They're affected by the update. So that's, I hope that, guys, clears a few things for the National Park stream. So that's going to be pretty good coverage for you guys. I hope you guys now understand what I'm trying to go at. So I hope that clears some things out for the rest of you guys here. So I hope you guys don't mind that this is the flight plan, of course. Also, the Espanol kit just came out. It actually looks pretty good. I mean, not as good as last year's kit, but it looks fine enough for me. So I'm gonna get it. Mm, mm, mm. Hmm. So, pretty big stuff, of course, for the stream, of course. So, in terms of other news, of course, Saturday will be a special GA stream. We'll be doing a North American journey in honor of the United States' 250th birthday tomorrow. So we'll be doing a flight from Boston over to New York City. We'll actually make our way to White Plains Airport for the first landing. And then from there, we'll go to New York City, fly over the Statue of Liberty. Then we'll make our way down to Philadelphia. And then from Philadelphia, we'll make our way through Baltimore and Washington, D.C. And we'll have plenty of landmarks along the way. We'll talk plenty about each of these places to visit. So I'm looking forward to doing that with you on Saturday. So we'll be checking plenty of those out when we get there, of course. So yeah, plenty of stuff. I'm looking forward to you guys. But the scenery around here is really nice here in Mexico. Mm. Mm. Hey, sir. Hey, Surly Dev. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well, Surly. We're about to make our first stop very shortly, being, of course, our first stop in Morelia. We're going to be here very soon. We were just talking about the English national team, England's national team. I think they got a tough battle on Sunday against Mexico City. That's going to be a very it's going to be a tough battle against Mexico. It's going to be a very tough matchup at the Azteca. It's going to be a really, really difficult matchup. Could they do it? I think they could, but like I said, it's going to be an uphill battle between playing at Mexico. You know, Mexican fans are absolutely crazy for their team. And when you combine that with being 7,000 feet above sea level, which, by the way, is 2,000 feet higher than Denver, it's going to be a very tough match for Kane. No worries, Sir Dev. No worries about not being able to fly. I get it. You're at work. I completely get it. But it's going to be a tough matchup. So, big stuff, of course, but who knows? Maybe Tuchel might come up with a plan for England to finally get a win. So here we go, guys. We're about to make our first landing of the day. So we'll make our way to Morelia, of course. But yeah, I'm also looking forward to my my soccer/football game tomorrow for Louisville City. We'll be taking on, of course, against Hartford Athletic on 4th of July. So we have a bit of a heat wave, but hopefully it might die down a bit at night. So, pretty big stuff, of course. Mm-hmm. So, big stuff, of course. So we're gonna make our way to our first stop. If anyone else wants to join on in or is open to join on in, you guys are more than welcome to fly along with me. We are in the Southeast Asian server. Here's our server for today, Southeast Asia. So we'll fly along with us today. here we go. We'll make our landing right here. Like I said, Mexico's a really nice area in the world to fly. I like flying in Mexico. Tons of different environments. Tropical rainforest, high mountain plains, desert. All sorts of really interesting places to fly here in Mexico. Um, I'm still waiting for the Fokker F700, F70 and 100 to be on Sim Market because that's where I mainly get all my add-ons from. Is Sim Market, so I'm still waiting for the F70 100 bundle so I can grab it. So I can start flying it because that, from what I heard, it's even better than the 146. The people like it even more than the 146. Negative 49 feet per minute. That's a really smooth landing. So we'll park right here. We'll park right here. So. Mm. So we got a lot of stuff going on this week, and of course, we have our National Park Sunday. So really excited for the National Park series to finally come out. So Arches will be our national park on Sunday. Should be a lot of fun to explore Utah for the second to last time of the series. For the original run, we still have the Redux stuff. So should be interesting to see how they compare to the national parks we're going to be covering. I can't wait to see what this update's going to bring for Arches. Besides, I have not flown anywhere near the national parks for the update because I want to have a clear view of what I think some of this stuff looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready for the next leg of the trip. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and switch tanks. So we're going to go ahead and take off. So our heading is going to be 102 degrees. And 12,500 will be our altitude. So we're going to go ahead and take off here. So we're going to go ahead and there we go. Kind of write the guest book on the airport for Eva's hub. So we're making our way up to 12,500 feet above sea level. So we're going to go 12,500. So like I said, the Bonanza is more than good enough to do that. Yeah, look at the scenery here. This is really cool. Incredible scenery here here today. Really impressed with this place. Really nice. So we'll be going ahead and get to the Mexico national team as we climb up to 12,500 feet. So Mexico's national team, by the way, is North America's most successful national team. They represent Mexico, and they are governed by the Mexican Football Federation, or in Spanish, Federación Mexicana de Fútbol, founded in 1927. It's been an affiliate member of FIFA since 1929 and a founding affiliate member of CONCACAF since 1961, which is the North American League. Mexico has qualified for the World Cup 18 times and has been made consecutively since 1994, to make it one of only 6 countries to do so. It's one of 4 North American teams to qualify in the knockout stage, reaching the quarterfinals twice in 1970 and 1986, both times as host. So there could be a good sign they could make it this year once again in the quarterfinals. And they've even reached the round 16 in 7 different editions. So, of course, in fact, the first match in World Cup history, Mexico was part of it because they played France in the first ever World Cup match in World Cup history. So Mexico has a rich tradition in World Cup football, and have historically been the most successful team in North America. What I mean with them being so successful in North America, Mexico has won the CONCACAF Premier Continental Competition, winning 15 continental titles for North America, 10 Gold Cup, 3 championship titles, 1 CONCACAF Nation League title, and they even won a CONCACAF Cup. They even participate in the Copa America 11 times. And they even finished as high as runner-up twice, has been runners-up in the Copa America. Yes, a team of South American teams, and yet Mexico has been runners-up twice. They could have actually won the competition. Imagine being the first North American nation to win a South America competition. That just tells you Mexico's rich history. And of course, they are one of 8 nations to have won 2 of the 3 most important global football competitions recognized by FIFA, the Olympics and the Confederations Cup. So, very historic team. Mexico has had rich history being a very successful nation, of course. So, in terms of nicknames, of course, Mexico's national team are known as El Tri, or the El Tricolor. They're coached by Javier Aguirre. He's their coach for this year's national team. Their captain is Edison Alvarez, is their team captain, of course. He also plays for West Ham United. And most importantly, too, they're currently ranked 14th in the world, but at one point between the late 90s and early 2000s, they went as high as 4th highest in the world during their national teams. Pretty impressive stuff. Their lowest was 40th, so they've always been a top 40 nation globally. Their first ever game international match was Mexico and Guatemala, with Mexico winning 2-1. Their biggest win came against the Bahamas in Toluca, Mexico, and they beat the Bahama national team 13-0. I mean, but to be fair, there's a colossal gap between North American teams. You got some like the Bahamas aren't really good at football, and then Mexico, I mean, the historic juggernauts of football in North America. Their worst defeat came in 1961 in London against England. Yeah. So that a bit about the background of Mexico, of course. So a lot of important stuff about Mexico. Rich history, of course, with football. Now we get to the team image, the kit. But they play their home games at the Estadio Azteca, one of the most historic college grounds in world football. Is the Estadio Azteca. It's their proud home stadium of the Mexican national team. Since 1966, it's also the club home of Club America, Mexico's most successful club in Mexico. And also Cruz Azul also plays here as well. But this home ground is legendary in North America. It's actually around 7,200 feet above sea level. Yes, 2,000 feet higher than Denver, Colorado, and of course, with 87,000 people, it's actually the largest stadium in all of Latin America. And the 8th largest stadium in the world is the 8th largest association football stadium in the world. So yeah, it's absolutely massive. And it's often called the Temple or Cathedral of Football. This game hosted the legendary match, the hand of God goal, and the goal of the century for the 1986 quarterfinal match between Argentina and England. And the Azteca is the only stadium in the world to have both Pele and Diego Maradona win the World Cup, the 2 of the greatest World Cup players of all time. This stadium hosted both of these guys. And it hosted the game of the century in 1970 between West Germany and Italy. And of course, it's now hosted tons of other places. The 1968 Summer Olympics, it's hosted the Women's World Cup in 1971, and it's even hosted American football games. They hosted several American football games, including one this upcoming season between the Vikings and the 49ers, as well as concerts, Christian events, and even funeral services. This stadium has hosted all sorts of events. It's one of some people wanted the Azteca to hold the final, and I don't blame you all for wanting the Azteca hosted in the final. And rightfully so, because who knows, imagine Messi. Very important stuff, of course, with Mexico. Lots of stuff going on for the Azteca. Their kit traditionally is a tricolor system: green shirts, white shorts, and red socks. The tricolor, of course, is what Mexico is most known for, which all originated from the national flag of Mexico. Now, until the 1950s, they primarily wore maroon kit with black or dark blue shorts, but nowadays, thankfully, they got their tricolor uniforms, which look really cool. Adidas released in 2015 released an all-black color scheme for Mexico's home kit. Green, white, and red remain accent colors, and then they were updated in 2017 to reflect their Spanish name spelled for Mexico. And nowadays, their kit sponsor is Adidas since 2007. In terms of rivalries, Mexico has three very big ones. We covered the United States as one of their rivals. Obviously, their biggest rival for Mexico is without question the United States. The U.S.-Mexico is one of the top international football rivalries on Earth. It's basically Brazil, Argentina, but for North America, of course. Matches often attract a lot of media attention, public interest in discourse in both countries. Although the first match wasn't until 1934, it wasn't until the late 20th century where this rivalry really became a big deal, with the United States finally emerging as a solid international side. And nowadays, Mexico-United States is a very, very bitter rivalry. I mean, it has not helped, there's also tension around the border, too. While Mexico has still won the series, of course, a lot of those wins came from their early years. Nowadays, the United States has caught up, because since 2000, the series actually has favored the U.S., and now it's become a much more even rivalry. They also have a growing rivalry with Costa Rica that's actually been growing since the 2010s. When Costa Rica became the first country in CONCACAF to beat Mexico on Mexican soil in World Cup qualification, known as the Aztecazo, and they are also recognized as the only Central American national team to have quality to compete on the global stage, which is a big deal for this rivalry, of course, which has only increased the rivalry even further. But Mexico has dominated this rivalry with 32 wins, 20 draws, and 6 losses. And finally, of course, Argentina. But this one's interesting because they're the most renowned Hispanic nations in the world. Like with England's rivalry with Argentina, this is an intercontinental rivalry. But unlike the other ones, though, Mexico and Argentina have met plenty of times in the Copa America and such. In fact, it's more keenly felt by the Mexicans than the Argentines. And many people Argentines don't even consider Mexico as a rivalry. But Mexico absolutely feels it much more. But of course, unlike the other ones in North America, Mexico has not fared well against Argentina. 4 wins, 16 losses, and 12 draws against the Argentines. So, some pretty bitter stuff going on, of course. But yeah, if you have to ask Mexicans, it's definitely the United States the biggest rivalry for Mexico. So that concludes some of the rivalries here in Mexico. So here are the national team honors. Yeah, look at all these trophies that Mexico has been incredibly successful of over the years. A Confederations Cup in 1999, third place finish in 1995. The record 13 CONCACAF Gold Cups, including the previous one in 2025. 3-time runner-up and went third 3 times. The winners of the Nations League in 2025. Twice runner-up and a third place in 2023. They did win the CONCACAF Cup in 2015. And yes, they were runners-up twice in the Copa America. Can you believe it? They would have won it? They would have been like one of the few nations to win it in 2 different continents. Like, there's a reason why Mexico is one of the most important nations in world football. maybe not. They're definitely one of the most successful nations who never have won the World Cup, especially considering Mexico has been completely dominant in North America. So very important stuff going on here with Mexico. So, big stuff. Like I said, Mexico is without question one of the biggest in North America. So now, of course, we finally get to our last slide today. Some of Mexico's greatest legends. There are a ton of iconic players to play for the Mexico national team. After all, they are North America's most successful nation. So Mexico has had tons of iconic footballers over the years. And of course, we start with Hugo Sanchez, the greatest Mexican talent of all time, and he's well known as the greatest Mexican footballer. Now, of course, he's far more known for his legend iconic career as a club player for Real Madrid and Atletico and Pumas. However, in terms of his international career, he made 58 appearances and 29 goals between 1977 and 1994. In fact, he's participated in 3 different World Cup tournaments, making 8 total appearances in total, and scored only once in the World Cup. But he played more of a role in other events. And he even helped Mexico get to the final of the Copa America in 1993, but definitely the greatest Mexican footballer of all time. In terms of national team icons, their all-time leading scorer is Javier Hernandez. He is well known as one of the greatest Mexican and North American players of all time, and he is a great goal scorer and played for many of his club career at Guadalajara, Manchester United, Bayer Leverkusen, West Ham, and LA Galaxy. But he is Mexico's all-time leading goal scorer with 52 goals and 109 appearances. And he played in 3 World Cups in 2010, 2014, 2018, and played in the 2011 CONCACAF Gold Cup. And he helped Mexico win the Gold Cup against the United States, as well as being able to be played quite a few times in the World Cup. Of course, the most capped player to play for the Mexico national team is Andres Guardado. Is the most player who's played the most caps of any player from Mexico. He played over 180 games for the national team, known as the Little Prince. He played for Atlas before playing for most of his club career, starting with Deportivo da Coruña, then Valencia, and then eventually PSV, and then he played the team he played for the most being at Real Betis. But in terms of the national team, of course, he was a pretty important player for Mexico's success. For winning the CONCACAF Gold Cups, he's won all of them and more. But he's been very important for Mexico internationally too. Then of course you have Guillermo Ochoa. And he is of course one of the greatest Mexican goalkeeper. He's been very important for all their international tournaments. He's been a big part for the CONCACAF Gold Cups. He's won plenty of competitions. In fact, he's won 6 Gold Cup titles, more than any other player in the competition. Of course, he'll be retired at the end of Mexico during the 2026 World Cup. But this could be a great chance for Ochoa to add on to his legacy even further. especially if Mexico makes a deep run to this World Cup. And honestly, I actually think he very well could. But yeah, Ochoa could add on to his legacy if he is part of Mexico's World Cup success. Then you have their second leading goal scorer, Raul Jimenez, and I think he could definitely catch up to the record. Jimenez now mainly plays for Fulham and Wolves, but he's got a long career in Mexico as a great goal scoring machine and has won plenty of trophies for Mexico. And then some of the other talents also include Cato Homenic Blanco, another of the all-time great Mexican talents. You have Claudio Suarez, who's second in caps, mainly as a center back. Then you have Rafael Marquez and many more. But Mexico, many iconic talents that play in the country over the years, over the decades. So that concludes Mexico's national team. So that is the slides for today, guys. I hope this is good enough information for all you guys, of course. But lots of really cool stuff to play, of course. Mm. Mm. So in terms of the events, of course, as well, in terms of World Cup goal scorers, by the way, not only has Messi surpassed Klose's record, but so is Kylian Mbappe, apparently. And Mbappe's definitely going to be the all-time leading goal scorer at the end of this. He might even surpass Messi, depending on if Messi somehow gets eliminated by Cabo Verde. I don't think that will ever happen, but who knows? We got some interesting games tonight, that's for sure. So we're about to get very close to our final stop, of course. We're getting very, very close to our final stop. We're just 55 miles away from Mexico City. So yeah, Mexico City isn't going to be very far away from us. So guys, I hope you're all been excited for the World Cup action. I hope you guys have been enjoying that. That's been a lot of fun this year. This year's World Cup has been an immense amount of fun. So, beautiful stuff going on here with Mexico City, obviously. So, got a lot of stuff going on here, of course. So yeah, lots of stuff this weekend. For the rest of the community, of course, Murphy is going to be on later today. Our good friend TTN is going to be in Alaska in the Piper M600 today. Western Alaska, of course. He's going to go from Unalakleet, Kaltag, Koyuk, Quartz Creek Airstrip, and Nome. So, so we're going to be headed our way to Mexico City. So Mexico City, for you guys that don't know, this is the capital, most populous city in Mexico, and it's actually the most populous city in all of North America. As one of the world's leading cultural financial centers, this city is at a whopping 7,350 feet high due to the fact it's on the Mexico Central Plateau. And the population's at a whopping 9.2 million people live in Mexico City in an area of 577 square miles. It's actually the second largest speaking Spanish city, only trailed by Buenos Aires. It's actually after Lima. This is the second largest Spanish city after Lima, Peru. Of course, this city is also the oldest capital city in the Americas. And after all, this city was one of only two founded by indigenous peoples. You see, Mexico City was actually founded by the Aztecs as Tenochtitlan, that was built in 1325 on islands of Lake Texcoco. And of course, it was rebuilt after the siege was rebuilt, and it's become the modern Mexico City we now know of today. This city is very important because it generates Mexico's 15% of its GDP, which is absolutely ridiculous. And if it was its own country, it would have the fifth largest economy in Latin America. Yeah, so basically it's the Latin American equivalent of New York City, obviously. So, like I said, very important city here in North America. So, very important city. Of course, there's tons of unique sites and landmarks here in the city. There's tons of unique things in this city that there's tons of really cool stuff in this city. For one, Mexico City, of course, is a rich area of art. It's got a rich art academy and art history with arts and museums, including Mexico colonial, modern, contemporary art, and international art have been a big part of Mexico City for decades. But they also have, in addition to art, they also have a museum of tolerance and memory museum on discrimination and genocide. That is one of their other museums. Mexico City is rich to a lot of orchestras and theater programs, and it's a leading center of pop culture and music, mainly with Spanish and foreign language performers, including the 10,000-seat National Auditorium. In addition to this, of course, Mexico City is an amazing place for food. Mexico City is a culinary culinary food lovers' paradise, especially with tacos, taqueras, enchiladas, gorditas. And they have something from all of Mexico's 31 states to eat. Mexico City has got a lot of rich cuisine from all sorts of different regions of Mexico. Mexico definitely has some really great food. And of course, sports are a big deal here in Mexico. Football is the biggest deal here. And they have Mexico's biggest club, Club America. They also have Cruz Azul, another big historic club in Mexico. They also have Universidad Nacional in the first division as well. Or known as Pumas. They also have a motorsport track, the Autódromo Hernandez Rodriguez is a motorsports track, and they also play baseball as quite a popular sport in Mexico. Yes, baseball's been a big deal here too. So, really cool stuff. So that now we've arrived into Mexico City. We can see beautiful Mexico City out in the distance. Incredible place to visit, of course. So here is Mexico City. So for our next game day flight will be the quarterfinals, I believe, will be the next game day flight, which will be July 10th. So it would have to be on a game July 10th. So there's a couple of games that I think could fit on the schedule. Argentina and Switzerland could fit on that schedule. We are done Brazil, so I don't think I'm not going to do Brazil anytime soon. So it would probably be France or I would like to do France versus Morocco, and that would be the quarterfinals. I would probably do France and Morocco for the quarterfinals. Or probably more likely, I probably would hope to beat Argentina in that. And then for the final, we can cover the World Cup final in the third place match for the last one. So very excited for this World Cup to conclude, of course. So looking for different match sports for this. Baseball could go on, but maybe. Probably looking at the MLS, maybe Columbus, Cincinnati, or maybe look at the Brazil League. Flamengo and Sao Paulo will be the first one to do afterwards. Between two, Brazil's most historic clubs, Flamengo and Sao Paulo, the two non-relegated Brazil. Yeah, I think Flamengo and Sao Paulo would work. Haven't been back down to Brazil in a bit, so I may want to check that out. So I'll just wait until after the World Cup ends and I'll decide for that one post World Cup. So we're gonna go down to 9,000. So 9,000 feet we're gonna be going. So we'll descend to 9,000. So we'll go ahead and descend 1,000 feet per minute. So here it is, guys, the Estadio Azteca, the famous home of Mexico, one of football's great cathedrals, the Azteca. There she is. Beautiful Azteca. So here it is, guys, Mexico City. Here is the airport, the busiest airport in Mexico. Mike, X-ray. Mexico City's airport, the busiest in the entire country. It's the busiest airport in Mexico, third busiest in Latin America, and the 15th busiest airport in North America. It's 25 airlines, over 100 destinations in Mexico, Americas, Europe, Middle East, and Asia. And last year, it handled 44 million people. And the busiest route from here domestically is to Cancun, Monterey, and Guadalajara, the three busiest domestic routes. Internationally, the three busiest are Madrid, Los Angeles, and Bogota, Colombia. So pretty big stuff. Mm-hmm. So here we go, guys. Mexico City. Last stop. Mm. So here we are. We've arrived in Mexico, everyone. So we'll stop right here for today. So we'll stop right here. We'll park and we'll get everything off. So that's it, everyone. Welcome to Mexico City. I hope you all have enjoyed this flight. So we'll be back here, of course. So we'll be back, of course, for on Saturday. We'll be back in Boston. We'll see you guys then. We're gonna go find someone to raid. Give me a second to go into Twitch and find who to raid. I think we'll raid Jamie. Actually, we'll raid London Controller. So I hope that we see you guys again soon. Take care, everyone, and have a great rest of the day and the start of your weekend. Goodbye, everyone, and see you soon.